Good morning. Welcome to day 2 of my lessons from 2 decades in business. You are live in the Bigger Than You Facebook group, and this week, to celebrate the launch of my new website, I am just sharing some general observations and lessons that might support you in your business journey. So do say hello in the comments so I can see who you are. Yesterday we talked about personal brand, and today we're talking about how you stay in your zone of genius, right? So I'm currently writing a blog post, it's about halfway done, about strengths, about how do you work out what your strengths are and then play to them. Because I don't know about you, but don't you find as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, we are expected to know everything, to be good at everything. And you know, truth bomb, we cannot be good at everything. So put in the comments what you think your number one strength is, right? Really curious to know what your strengths are. I'm going to be talking about a number of ways that you can find out what your strengths are, because we can sometimes think that we are good at certain things. Morning, Sally. And we're okay at those things, but actually there's probably one thing that you are super brilliant at. And so one of the things I want you to think about is, what is that thing that you've always been great at, like since being a kid, right? And for me, it's always been about galvanizing people. My number one strength, I think, is activation. It's like getting people together around an idea and moving them forward. We can see somebody here says, morning, mine is strategy. So if you're coming on these calls, do give, what am I using? I'm using ecamm. Do give ecamm permission to show your name, because then I can call you out by name, like the lovely Sally. So here's the thing. I am often described, or I feel like it, maybe I'm not described, but I often feel like I am a jack of all trades, right? Or a Jill of all trades. And in the business world, that can sometimes be deemed as a bad thing. Like, you know, if you try and do everything, you'll do everything badly. I don't think that's true, particularly for a business coach, because what I would say is I have a broad spectrum of knowledge, and that is often what my clients need. I am not necessarily a specialist in one area of business. I've got a very kind of overarching view of lots of different aspects of it. And it's interesting because the original phrase of jack of all trades is jack of all trades, master of none, though often better than master of one. And I really, really agree with that. Because I love the fact that I can pull upon different areas of my expertise and experience to help my clients as and when they need it. But a few years ago, probably about 2 years ago now, I really wanted to hone into what my strengths were. And I worked with a coach who worked using the Clifton Strengths Finder assessment tool, and I'll put the link into the comments because it might be something that you want to have a look at. And recently, when I've been putting my new website together, I got my report out. So here it is here. And what I loved about this test is you answer lots and lots of questions, like a lot of these diagnostic tests, and it gives you almost like a DNA report of the things that you're the best at, right? And it came as not as a surprise, but it was really affirming that I don't just believe I'm good at these things, I actually am. And the more I talk about my strengths with my clients and my friends, they're like, yeah, you are absolutely a genius at that. And what it means is I can focus on those things and not have to worry about the rest of them. So yeah, Sarah says, love Strength Finder. Brilliant. Yeah, it's such a useful tool. So here are my 5 top strengths. Ideation. Now, it's funny because all business owners, entrepreneurs, think they have great ideas, but my ideas are genius. And one of the things I love doing is gifting my ideas to my clients, because there is not enough time in my lifetime to do all of the things that I have ideas for. So I'm a massive fan of co-creation, and I'm going to be offering a service later on, probably next year now, where we co-create as entrepreneurs and do joint ventures and things like that. Number 2 is activator. I activate people. I get people doing shit. Like, that's something I've always been able to do. I'm a futurist. And this one kind of hit me by surprise, because in the speaking world, there are futurists out there that go out and they talk about, technology and advances and stuff like that. I'm not really big on that, but what I'm really good at is being able to predict trends. I'm often ahead of the curve. So if you think about my plus size fitness business, when I set that up 11 years ago, nobody was talking about plus size. So I was ahead of the curve, which isn't always a good thing. Sometimes it is as a business owner, sometimes it isn't, because you feel like I've done all the hard work and now, the rest of my competitors are kind of catching up. But, pros and cons. Number 4 is woo. And when I first saw that, I was like, oh, it's woo, like, spiritual woo. But actually it's not. It's about winning others over. And I would say that my influencer skills are really, really high. I can galvanize, I can get people on side, all of those kind of things. And then number 5 is significance. And for me, this is about helping people to feel like what they're doing matters. And for me, I need to feel like my work is significant. Now, those are the top 5 for me. So on a daily basis, I remind myself of those things. I've designed my business offerings around those things. And what that means is I'm in flow. When I work with clients based on those 5 strengths, I get the best results from my clients, but also the work is easy. So last Friday, I was working with a VIP client. I do a master planning service, which is like kind of my highest end program. It's very kind of bespoke. And I help business owners to plot out their 10-year kind of strategy. And what was really interesting about the client that I worked with on Friday is that it was probably the easiest day's work I've ever done, because that is my zone of genius. And she was like, completely blown away. And that's the feedback that I'm getting around that master planning service. I am big picture thinking. I'm a visionary. I'm able to see how things connect. I don't do detail. I can, but it's not my zone of genius, because detail of stuff keeps us stuck. It's the how. How do I do that? And the how changes as the world evolves. And so I get frustrated with teaching the how, because often it's not the how that's the problem. We can always find out the how. You just Google it or watch a YouTube video. But it's the why and the what and the who. Who are you to do that work? And then on this Strength Finder thing, there are 34 results, and it kind of puts them in order. And what's also quite interesting is the next 5 for me are also things that I'm really good at, but maybe don't blow my own trumpet enough around. So for me, it's strategy, command, focus, input, and communication. And they're much more, in my view, they're a little bit more boring. Like, they are the things that business coaches should be good at. So I'm glad. But what's I think is really interesting, and I'm writing about this in my blog, is that we can't often compete with the people in our industry or whatever based on being the best, right? Because that is really triggering. Like, am I better than them? Are they better than me? Like, what are the metrics that we're measuring that by? And so often we'll look at maybe our role models in our industry, and we'll look at the kind of people who came before us, and it can feel a bit like, oh, what's the point? They've got a bigger audience, or they've got more success, or they've got more money, or they've been doing it longer than me. When we try to compete on that level, I think it's really difficult to stand out. And so what I think we should be competing on is doing things our way, utilising our strengths, utilising our personality, and doing things slightly differently. And that's what I think I'm really good at. I think it's what I help my clients to see. Quite often my clients can't see their uniqueness, but isn't that the case for many of us? I've had to work with branding experts to look at my own brand, even though I'm good at doing that for other people. So that's Clifton Strength Finder. I'll put a link to that in the comments. The other tool which has been helpful is DISC. So I know one of my clients, Vic O'Farrell, who I've just interviewed on my podcast, she is known as the Queen of Behaviours, and she uses the DISC tool. Now, I'm a high I, which means that I'm extrovert and I'm loud and I'm fast-paced and all of those things, but my attention to detail is very, very low. So in terms of that, so that's another useful tool that you might want to look into. Now, another tool which actually I developed is a tool that you can find in this book. I'm just going to bring up a graphic so you can see a little bit more about it. It's a tool that I use. Let's get that over there and make it a little bit smaller. It's a tool that I use called the Tribe Leadership Archetype tool. Now, I developed this about a year ago, probably a little bit more than that now, to help people understand how they galvanize people, because there's not just one way of being an online leader. I am a storyteller. I can be a teacher. I'm often the facilitator. I'm probably all of those. I can never do this correctly. There we go. I'm probably all of these, but at different points. And we lead with one. There's probably one that is most predominant for us. And sometimes it changes depending on our mood. Like when the shit hits the fan for me, I can often be the outcast or the maverick or sometimes the crusader. I crusade for change. When I'm in my zone of genius, I'm the creator. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to create this thing. So if you're interested in looking at that tool, you can either buy my book off Amazon. It's called Leading from the Back, How to Build a Profitable Online Business Without Selling Out, Burning Out, or Behaving Like a Dick. Or I have a quiz, and the quiz helps you to identify which of the archetypes you're most aligned to. So I would love if you've got any questions about this, if you are like, I just don't know what my strengths are. What I would say is that I worked with around 3,000 clients, more than 3,000 clients last year. And a big part of what I do is I do help people to niche. I help them to package up their programs, to package up their services, to help them understand what their USP is, their unique selling point. So much of the resistance around selling is the fear of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, my programs are not unique enough. And then what often happens is we discount or we are not as visible as we could be in our business because we're afraid. So I really want you to think about how you can tell yourself every day the things that you're good at, how you can talk about your zones of genius, your areas of expertise, your strengths. Do you talk about it in your social media? Do you talk about it on your website? Do you talk about it when you appear on a podcast? Do you talk about it when you're out networking? So I want you to, there are 3 things that I want you to consider today. What have you always been good at? All right, I asked this earlier on. What have you always been good at? And think about the stories that you can tell around that. I tell a story in this book, I think, about how I turned my brother's bedroom into a library when I was about 8 years old. That's about that galvanizing and that ideation. But also, what do you have a natural knack at? Sometimes we can say, I can't specialize in that because I don't have a degree in it or I've never done a course. It doesn't matter. Sometimes you're just a natural at it. So allow yourself to be a natural genius at something. But also, what do other people rave about you? And the ideation thing, even before I had the Strength Finder test, people would say, oh my God, your idea is a genius. And I'd be like, But now I've got this, I've got this document that proves it. I'm much more likely to talk about that as an area of expertise. So anyway, I hope this morning's lessons around working in your zone of genius has been helpful. If you've got any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. If you're watching this on the catch up, you know what I always say, hashtag catch up or replay, and then I can see who's watching it. It's an exciting week here at Julie Creffield HQ, which is actually just the corner of my front room. My new website went live yesterday. I got so much good feedback. I got text messages and voice notes, and nearly 1,000 people looked at my website yesterday, which is super, super exciting. But it's only one part of the jigsaw puzzle. Having those digital assets, having, a look and feel for your business, it's not the be all and end all. It's just one avenue of progress. Tomorrow we are talking about, what are we talking about tomorrow? I think we're talking about speaking. Where's my, here we go. See, organisation is not a strong point for me. Yeah, Wednesday, we're talking about speaking. We're going to be looking at how you tell your story to raise your profile. And actually this morning I made a lovely Instagram reel, which is just a collection of all of my speaker photos. And actually it reminded me of how much I love speaking and how much I miss speaking. Although I picked up a speaking gig last night. You may have got an email from me this morning. I went for pizza and wine with the Olympian Ewan Thomas. I was invited to a private view last night of a documentary that airs tonight at 7 p.m. on YouTube, all about him running a 100-mile race. And who was the person that was there? The head of the National Running Show was there, and I spoke for them a couple of months ago, and they've just asked me to speak at their Birmingham show in January, which is really super exciting. So anyway, Guys, I will see you on the call tomorrow. Just one final reminder. It is Black Friday, this Friday. I do have various offers at the moment connected to the new website. The one that I want to tell you about, I'm just having a look here. I've got so many graphics on display. That's not a good sign, Julie, to not be organised. I don't know where it is. So I use something called ecamm, and you can kind of import images, and I've obviously imported it and then forgot where I've put it. So like you can just flash images like that, which is super cool. But I should have a bit of a clear out because there are so many of them that I can't find the one I want. Anyway, the offer that I'm running at the moment is a Black Friday all-in deal for my program Go Big or Go Home, which is a business incubator. It's a kind of an accelerator. It's kind of a bit of a replacement for my Tribe Builder program, but slightly different in its outcomes. We're currently piloting at the moment. We're at week 5 and the women in that group are absolutely loving it. The next round starts in January, but anybody that signs up before the 1st of December gets it for a super affordable price, almost 50% off, with a few other things included, including a one-to-one session with me to go through the tribe archetype stuff. So a super cool deal, and I will email you guys the details because I just can't find the graphic, which is just really rubbish. Okay guys, thank you for joining me live. I'll see you on tomorrow's call, which is all about being a speaker and using your voice to get your story out there to grow your business. Have a great day.